So I thought I would do a little bit of an update to my Filofax based EDC, my everyday carry, because things evolve, and not only do they evolve, but here's the thing, I like to experiment with different systems, because I'm not exactly searching for the holy grail of paper-based productivity, but I do like having a paper-based system that I can take with me, whether I'm on foot or in a train or in a doctor's waiting room or something where I don't necessarily want to use my phone, but having a paper-based productivity system that I can literally fit in a jeans pocket works for me. And I am continuously trying different things, maybe for therapy, maybe for the pursuit of efficiency, perhaps a little bit of both. So let's talk about the EDC and just remove the phone for a short while. So this is my EDC, as some of you have already seen. It is, as I sometimes struggle with the name because it is the longest name for the smallest Filofax, but it is a Guildford Mini Extra Slim. It is very similar in size. Just to recap, it's very similar in size to other mini-sized Filofaxes. This is the Mini Portland, which is about 20 years old. This is slightly newer, but alas, it was only available for about a year. And I'm not saying I have panic attacks, but I have been on the lookout, because the problem with this is, although it is such a fantastically tactile thing to have, it is wearing out really, really quickly. And whether or not that extends to the not being able to use it, well, probably not. But look at this. Look how I'm using this every day. I get it out of my pockets maybe 20 or 30 times a day, and the constant opening and shutting means that although the leather on the outside has lasted the test of time, as it were, for some reason inside, look at that. That is really, really bad. And yet it is described as, let's see if I can get the light right, Guildford Extra Slim, and it says Mini Organizer, and it says Deluxe Leather. Well, is this deluxe leather? I will let you decide. But interestingly, I know I'm digressing here, but I'm sorry for that. But this Portland, which is even older, I also use. I've removed everything. I'm using this as a wallet at the moment, every day. So this is getting almost as much use as my Guildford Mini Extra Slim. And yet, you look at the quality of this. It is superb. It is just as nice now as it was when it was manufactured. Oops, a little bit of dirt and dust. I've just cleared the table so that I can do a video. So there's all set, and I've been cutting paper and cardboard and opening packets and parcels. I've had another couple of Filofaxes arrive today in the post. But this is superb quality. But we're not talking about the quality of the leather today. We are talking about how my EDC is evolving over time. Now, let's just do a quick comparison in size. The reason I like this Guildford Mini Extra Slim is, if you can see, everything's sticking out a bit here, but if I overlay the Mini Portlands, you can see that the Portland is slightly wider. It's about the same height. Let me show you here. So it's almost exactly the same height, but in width, the slimness, if you like, is that way. I.e., it is not quite as wide, and it doesn't have a pen loop. It doesn't have a fastener, and I like that because that has allowed me to do a couple of modifications. The two modifications which I'm using, and I've been using for about a month now, is firstly, and this is very, very Heath Robinson. Some of you will know who Heath Robinson was a fictional character. No, what am I talking about? No, sorry. I was getting ahead of myself there. Heath Robinson was an illustrator, and some of his images are a little bit Heath Robinson in as much as things are. Oh, it's just so hard to describe. You'll have to Google him. Right. So, have a look at this. So, I love the minimalism of this, but sometimes it's nice to have a pen all in this package without having to carry a pen in your pockets. So what I have been experimenting with is, this is a refill for a Pilot G2. And in this particular case, I prefer the 1mm real refill rather than the 0.7mm refill. But there we go. And although this is just a simple homemade insert, as it were, just stapling over a loop to fit an insert. Actually, although it looks very rough and ready, it is actually working very, very well. And I'm not a follower of fashion. I'm not a follower of neatness and tidiness. I am very much into filofaxes as working tools, and from a minimal point of view, this works very well for me. I love that, and so I will probably improve that in some way and do another one. But this is just like a prototype. But do you know what? This has stood up to wear and tear for the last 30 days, and I'm just going to blow my nose. Excuse me. Got a bit of a cold this week. It works absolutely fine. Now, the second change, the second update is, as some of you will know, and I've actually removed all my notes from here for the purposes of the video, so there's normally a few more sheets in here. But I used to have a 5-day diary in here. So what I had was memos on this side, and then a series of to-do lists at the front, and then I also had right at the back a five days worth of diary, which I would transfer from my iOS-based diary into here every evening, to make sure that I had 5 days worth of information. But I have found that is not enough, and so I'm a big fan of these Rhodia notebooks, but this is what I've done. Okay, so I've literally just cut away the back so that I can slip it into this pocket like so, and I've cut it in such a way as it doesn't affect the rings. You can see the rings closing, and if you look down there you can see that the booklet is it just is clear of the rings, so that the diameter when the Filofax is in your pocket hasn't been increased. And I find that I don't use tabs, and this is very, very rough and ready, but I like that. I like the very simple minimalist functionality of this as a complete package, where I have a series of to-do lists, a pen, or in this case a refill, some memos at the back, and then I now have this diary, which is not a 12-month diary. There are 24 sheets in here, so that's 48 sides, 48 pages. But what you'll notice is, and I've experimented with this, and I've gone through my diary, and to be honest, apart from grandchildren's birthdays, that sort of thing, there's not much that I need to record like 12 months hence. So what I do is, and it seems to work very, very well, is I've effectively got 48 days in this booklet, and then when we get towards the time when we get to the end of the booklet, obviously there's a greater and greater risk that I will need to jot something down beyond the 48 days. So what I do is just have turn it round, and that gives me another 48 days. And the reason I do that is because it is highly unlikely that I'm going to have much 48 days hence. But what I can do is when I get to the end of this booklet, then what I can do is get another one, and then every one of the entries that I've written upside down, I can then transpose into this booklet, and it works very, very well. I haven't yet got to the end of the 48 days, but I found that 5 days wasn't enough, but 48 days is more than adequate, and it doesn't add much more in the way of bulk to this minimalist EDC, simply because when I close it, because the rings are not there's no overlap between the rings and the booklet, the Rhodia booklet, then the actual width of this EDC doesn't increase as a result of having the booklet. So it actually works very, very well. As far as the paper's concerned, I mean, this looks a bit ragged, but there's a method in the madness. So this paper is used for to-do lists, and that means I'm not precious. I'm not worried about quality. I mean, I am interested in paper quality, especially for my journal. However, when it comes to this everyday carry, what I do is I use any paper I can find, and I just cut down, and I don't even print them off. I mean, you can see here I've just used another template and traced around it, cut it with a pair of scissors, and on my keyring I do have a small Swiss Army knife with a small pair of scissors, so that I can do that. It's very, very rough and ready, as you can see. And then what I do is I don't even hole punch. You can see that this is done with a hole punch. This is one of my grandchildren's scribbling. But, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be using this for best. It's just this paper can be used. So that's a good example of the sort of thing I use. But the hole punches, a traditional hole punch, I find the holes are too big, and so there's a lot of movement here. So what do? I just use a bradawl, which is a wooden pointy thing. This one's over 100 years old. And I literally just get a piece of paper and then just punch the hole. And again. And that hole is just the right size for these rings, which are very, very small, and it keeps everything neat and tidy. Well, I wouldn't say. Well, it works for me. So in here is actually all sorts of paper. Now, this is a piece of paper that I cut from some drawing paper my grandchildren had. This is actually a page from an unused Rhodia. Then we've even got this, for instance, is from a piece of junk mail that came, and there was some white space, so I used the junk mail to create a piece. I think there's a couple of coffee stains in there, but it doesn't matter. It's in there, and it works. There's even some very, very thin paper, almost like tracing paper, and that works. The backs of envelopes I also use. So basically, I'm making sure that as far as possible, I'm not wasting paper. I'm reusing it through my to-do lists and jotting things down as memos, scribbling, just ideas, etc. Because I do use a lot of paper, and I'm kind of atoning for my sins, really, given that paper is, because there's a carbon footprint attached to paper. I do try as far as possible to make use of these bits and pieces, which are absolutely fine to use for an EDC, at least for me. So that's the update. What about just I just want to mention this again. So what am I doing with this binder? I mean, it's just so tempting to use something like a Portland, where the quality is sensational. If you compare this to some other filofaxes, a lot of people that come across one of these and try one of these regard it in a very favourable light indeed. Whereas this one, not so much. But I'll tell you what, as an EDC, the form factor of this Filofax, the smallest one that Filofax have ever made, and that only very, very briefly, it makes this, for me at least, the ultimate EDC that you can carry in your pockets, along with a mobile phone, of course. It's just a wonderful thing as far as I'm concerned. I just love the minimalist concept of this thing, and just adding the diary, adding a Rhodia based A7 diary to it just makes it much more useful. So that's basically my update. I am trying some other things as well. I can't stretch that far, but I am actually I've got several diaries on the go at the moment. I'm just experimenting from a practical basis, just to see. There's an element of duplication there with my diaries, but I'm just keen on the experimentation. But notwithstanding the fact I'm trying different systems, for me, this Guildford Mini Extra Slim is absolutely, I mean, it's not perfect. It's a working project. It's a working project, but it is so functional, so utilitarian, so. I mean, it's a wildly functional, simple, basic, useful bit of kit. That I like it, and so this is my main. This is the thing that I carry with me all the time and use more than any other Filofax I own. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed my updates, and until next time, goodbye.